Hi, it's Colin Cowherd. Do you want the best content on the internet? Go watch cats playing on tiny pianos. It's really good. But if you want arguably the second best content, subscribe. In September, crazy shit happens. Teams aren't ready. They go into Florida, the sun, and they just evaporate. Last year, the Jags beat the Colts in week 1. The Jags never won another game. I thought the Buccaneers just stepped into a hornet's nest. SoFi Stadium, I had several friends there. It was deafening, and it felt like a Super Bowl. And to me, it felt so much more important to the Rams than it did to the Bucs, and I don't think Tampa ever matched the urgency I felt from the Rams. The Rams are a team, and I think they match up with Tampa, and not everybody does. But they have a superstar corner in Jalen Ramsey, and you can put him on Mike Evans and basically take Mike Evans out of a game. That's a big deal when you face Tampa. You've got to have a star receiver. They also create a pass rush, an interior pass rush with Aaron Donald. Tom Brady has always struggled with an interior pass rush. They're also a team that will test your corners. Matt Stafford loves to go over the top, and that's arguably the weakness of the Buccaneers. So I think the Rams have a lot of components that are going to challenge the Buccaneers if they met again. An elite, show-stopping corner to take out Mike Evans mostly. The ability to score quickly on Tampa's corners, the weakness, I think, of their team, and an interior pressure component in Aaron Donald, which can frustrate Tom Brady. But I thought that game was all about intensity and urgency, and I find myself fascinated watching McVay and Matt Stafford's relationship with McVay running down the sidelines. I don't know if I'm more interested in the Rams or that relationship. At some point, I think Jared Goff's got to be watching this somewhere at his home in Michigan and thinking, wow, they don't miss me at all. And it's interesting, so much about this league is health. And an interesting player for the Rams is Deshaun Jackson. And I was talking to Les Snead during the offseason about this, and he felt that the Rams with Goff were too reliant on 11 and 12-play drives, and that you've got to be able to do what the Chiefs can do, which is score quickly. You can't ask your offense to be perfect. I mean, you can have an excellent offensive line, but one holding call blows up a drive, or one mistake by a right tackle blows up a drive. And so the ability with Deshaun Jackson to go over the top and get big chunks of yards quickly, it's a home run hitter in baseball. That you'd sometimes, not every inning can be about 2 doubles, 3 singles. Sometimes you need a 3-run jack. And I think Deshaun Jackson, his health is always a concern, but you can see the speed and how he takes the top off anybody that faces the Rams. I think he's a wild card. If he is healthy in the playoffs, you do not want to face the Rams at SoFi with Deshaun Jackson. You do not want to face that team. The second game I want to talk about, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I noticed something last week and called friends on this. Andy Reid did not look right 2 weeks ago. I thought his skin pallor, he looked pale. After the game, the loss to the Chargers in Kansas City, he was rushed to the hospital. He's now in good shape. But, Andy's been doing this for a long time. I worry about his health. As I watch that game, and I'm kind of over worrying about who the best quarterback is. But when you're young and you win a Super Bowl like Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes, you are pretty much anointed the best young quarterback in the game. But when I watch Justin Herbert and I watch Patrick Mahomes on the same field, folks, I don't see a gap at all. I don't see a gap at all. In fact, I would argue that Herbert almost makes it look easier. He's a little bigger, a little thicker than Mahomes. He doesn't have the hardware. And Mahomes deserves to be called the best quarterback in the game. I don't care about the list. But when you watch those two together, you tell me the gap. I don't see it. I think Herbert has a rifle. I think he has an effortless throwing motion. He was a 4.2 student in biology at Oregon, so smart he was a tutor during classes. He's won a lot of football games at the collegiate level, and last year set all sorts of records with a bad offensive line and a coach in Anthony Lynn, who is viewed by the people that I trust in the league more as a coordinator or a college head coach as much as he is an NFL head coach. They don't think of him much in that space. So we've all got this victory parade for the Chiefs over the next decade. I think the Chiefs, if you told me over under, Chiefs win 6 AFC West titles the next 10 years, I'd say under. I really would. I think Justin Herbert is that special. And Tom Telesco, the GM, really, if I follow the draft like most of you, he does about as good a job as any general manager in the NFL of drafting college players. I mean, they don't have 2 misses over the last 4 years. I mean, New England's got 6. They just don't miss much. And I think Kansas City and the Chargers are going to be in shootouts for a decade. And I think it's going to be split right down the middle. They're just going to knock each other out constantly. Maybe it's the Raiders who surprise all of us and sneak through it. I'm going to get to the Raiders later. The other thing that jumped out to me, let me support Matt Nagy for a second. If you do something really special, it goes a long way with me. It gives you credibility. Life is a resume. So Matt Nagy gets Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs twice. Now, Mitch Trubisky, if Matt Nagy never appears and John Fox retains his job, Trubisky's out of this league. I mean, he was a disaster his first year. So Matt Nagy comes and saves Mitch Trubisky, much like McVay did with Jared Goff. Jared Goff would not have gotten the third year if Jeff Fisher retained his job for another year in Los Angeles. Like Goff, it would be over. 2 years, he was awful. Matt Nagy got Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs a couple of times. That can't be overstated. You're in a division with Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay. They're going to win the division. So to get to the playoffs, it's going to be like getting into the playoffs in Mahomes' division or getting to the playoffs in Brady's division in the AFC East for years. So that goes so far with me, Nagy's ability to offensively elevate a quarterback. So there's a lot of complaints in Chicago right now about the Bears' offense and the schemes. Folks, look at what happened yesterday. Trevor Lawrence, awful. Mac Jones, awful. Justin Fields, awful. Zach Wilson, shutout, awful. These guys are all completely over their head. They're just not ready. That's why Trey Lance is in a really good spot. Garoppolo is good enough to start for a while, although we know Garoppolo's not a top 10 guy. But you can blame Matt Nagy all you want. I think he has a decided disadvantage, and that's his general manager. The offensive line's a complete mess. Matt Nagy does not get a big say in personnel. I like some of the parts of Chicago, but they're the only team in the league that doesn't pay their quarterback and has no cap space. Try to figure that out. I mean, the Rams are paying Stafford, and they can still afford Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. So you can bail on Matt Nagy, but look at what the rookie quarterbacks did yesterday. Think about this with Belichick. So Belichick is largely perceived as the best head coach in the history of the game. Josh McDaniels, regardless of what happened when he was coach of the Broncos, is a top 2 to 3 coordinator offensively in the game. They have a top 5 graded offensive line and a very deep running back set. And Bill Belichick can now not win home games in September against the Saints and Dolphins, average teams. Be very careful about running Matt Nagy out of town. And I know Matt and I like him. But he saved Trubisky. Trubisky is a backup. And no GM in this league, and I got about 6 guys I talk to regularly, Trubisky's a backup. He got him to the playoffs twice. Justin Fields isn't ready to play. Mac Jones isn't ready to play. Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson aren't, but they have to. Because of Belichick's titles, he has so much buy-in from fans. We're not acknowledging here. Look at the components the Patriots have, and they can't score. The Bears have a bad offensive line. So you tell me a coach in this league that can take a rookie quarterback with a bad offensive line and win. It doesn't exist. Look at the Jets right now. Bad O-line rookie quarterback. Robert Saleh couldn't score. Been blown out in each of their games. So I'm going to defend Matt Nagy here. You can keep playing Justin Fields. Kid isn't ready. He is not close to ready. Holds on to the ball like Mac Jones way too long because neither at this point has the ability to read a defense at a second and third upper tier level. I think the surprise team in the league to me is the Raiders. They're 3-0, and I picked them to be in last place. Two things are happening. Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator, deserves a great deal of credit. Now, a lot of people think Gus Bradley deserves a second head coaching job. He brought a lot of his guys with him, a lot of his coaches. The Raiders went and acquired a Baltimore Raven on their defensive front. What they're really doing now is getting a tremendous pass rush. As Greg Cosell told me this week in The Herd, the Raiders are getting a tremendous pass rush without bringing extra people. That has elevated what I perceive to be an okay secondary. Also, we know this through the years. You do not have to nail your first-round picks. Belichick hasn't. Pete Carroll hasn't. The Raiders haven't. Be careful about being too punitive on teams having some real misses with their draft picks. So much of this league is quarterback play, protecting him, and the bottom half of your roster. There are very few teams in this league with a top 12 quarterback, and Derek Carr is, an offensive line that can protect him, that don't win. Right now, the Raiders are giving Derek Carr time to throw. They ran the ball yesterday better than they had, but Derek Carr's getting time to throw, and they're creating a massive pass rush without bringing extra people. And somebody told me this years ago, it's so simple, and I think I've said this multiple times. If you have the most comfortable quarterback during a game, you'll win about 75% of the games. And Derek Carr is much more comfortable than the three quarterbacks he has faced so far this year. That's the easiest way to explain it. If there's one team in the league I think I have whiffed on, as long as they're healthy, the Raiders are going to be a really, really tough out. And I'm happy for Derek Carr. He entered the league from Fresno State, so you didn't watch him on television. He was a second-round guy, not a first guy. And he came to a team that was a mess. So how you enter a company is often how you're viewed. If you start in the mailroom, you're not going to be viewed the same way, even if you rise through the ranks as somebody who started in the corner office. And we didn't watch Derek Carr in college, and he didn't go in the first round, and he went to a lousy team. The Raiders were a mess. He's gone through coaches, but if you're really honest with yourself and you look at the data that matters for a quarterback, Derek Carr, with time to throw, is a really, really good player.